All right, and why don't we go ahead and get started? So welcome again. This is our second new software release, AMA, and so we're excited to have all of you joining today. And I will send it over to Jeremiah, to Domenico, and Becky to introduce themselves.
All right, thank you, Anne, and for everybody on the call, big happy birthday to Anne. It's good to celebrate her birthday today with this AMA session. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeremiah Robison, and I'm the founder of Psionic. And today I'm joined by Domenico Pisaturo, our Chief Product Officer, and Rebecca Webster, who runs clinical operations for us. The subject of today's AMA is our most recent software release, 1.15. And just always like to start off with why we care so much about software and what we think the role of software is in our product. And that's really to keep continuing to innovate and making the product better basically every day. We're working, one, to hear feedback from the community, which thank you all for joining us to provide that feedback today. And also, as we learn how people are using the product, where they want to see new features, and where we can continue to innovate, we can do a lot of that in software in between the longer process of innovating on the hardware side. So I'm super happy to hand it off to Domenico and Becky to walk through what this latest 1.15 release is. So without further ado, I'll hand it off to them.
All right, thank you, Jeremiah. So as and Jeremiah was saying, what we're gonna do is gonna be looking at new features and improvement we've been doing and the release on 1.15. And just after, we will just look at some of the next AMA topics and then give space for the Q&A. In the meanwhile, you can always add your questions in the chat and just wrote, and we'll try to answer as many of them as we go along. Okay, let's start from what we consider one of the most important things. So we added we enriched our support section. As you know, if you press on the top left of your screen, apologies, on top left of your screen, one of the menu item is support. So this section, help, actually, sorry, it's called help. This section was there before, but we've added additional content and some that were not there before. I just spent a few minutes to explain them. So there's one link that is for the ordering electrodes. Right now, that link would actually take you to a link to open an email with support. But very soon you'll be able to just tap in there and request delivery of new electrodes. The electrodes will go directly to the address we have on file for you. And as soon as that automation is in place, we will communicate via email to everyone. In the meanwhile, you can go in there to just select the email address to send your request. Now you can also, from within the app, access your account and billing information. Why is that important? This is important because in case you change address or you want to change your payment method, you can always do that from within the app. We recommend that you keep your address always up to date, because when we have to send electrodes, or if there's any other thing to send to you, we need to make sure that we have the correct address on file. Just one thing to stress: we cannot deliver anything to PO boxes. So please don't go in and change your address to a PO box, because that will just slow down logistic operation in the moment in which we need to fulfill either electrodes order or anything else. The other two tiles at the bottom, one is support content, and we give you access to the support that is in also on the website There's a lot of knowledge base in there, so you can access like different tips and for how to do maintenance for your sleeve. You can access recommendation on how to properly don the sleeve and modify your settings. So it's like very important. And the last tile is like the user manual that of course was available also before, but now it's like more prominent. Next, improved calibration. So I know that calibration is probably one of the more painful step inside the app, and we know that nobody likes it, but like unfortunately something that is necessary for the sleep in order to understand the orientation of the body, and is an extremely critical step inside your daily routine, because in the moment in which the calibration is done properly, then your stimulation timing are proper, and like they will work much better when the calibration is accurate. And so for this reason, we had some additional check in place. Like the first one is what we call gravity check. So during the first step of the calibration, when you're asked to stand up, now the system will verify that you're actually standing up. So if you're not standing up during that that measurement, you will not pass the calibration step, and you will have to repeat. So this is just like to make sure, as we receive like a lot of email to support saying like my timings are not right, like the sleeve is not stimulating at the right time. 99% of those issues are because the calibration is not done well. So we did have this additional check in place to make sure that instead like everything works perfectly. I don't know, Becky, if you want to add anything on that.
Yeah, I'll just add a few things. So as Domenico said, everyone should be calibrating. We generally recommend daily when you put your sleeve on. If you are not passing calibration, so if you get that red X on the screen and it doesn't allow you to proceed to your gait protocol, please reach out to support@psyonic.com right away, as well as filing a report, a bug report or an issue report through the app so that we can see what's going on. But we want to make sure that you're up and running. And so if you are having challenges getting through calibration, please contact us right away.
Thank you, Becky. Okay, and that's metric.
Yeah. Do you want me to talk
about metric? Up to you. You want to talk?
I'll take it. So in support, we have a lot of questions about metrics and improving metrics. And so on the screen here, you can see the previous display for metrics. And again, you find this in the hamburger menu in the upper left-hand corner of the app. And then you click on history and you can see your metrics. Like I said, the first screen shows the previous version and the second screen shows the updated version. So the changes that occurred in 115. First, we have weekly averages or weekly stats and monthly stats. So last 7 days versus last 30 days. So you can see your progression over the week or changes over the week as well as over the month. At the top, you can also see a summary of those metrics. So your activity, gait speed, stride length, if you're in the last 7 days or in the last 30 days. So you can see that summary information there, and then each of them broken down into daily activity, gait speed, and stride length. The gait activity or the daily activity now separates out, it has always separated out the exercise and the walking, but now separates out cycle for those of you who have cycle enabled. So that last measure there would be the activity would be for the cycle program. And so you can see the average, and the average is calculated over days that you have been using the device. So not over a period of 7 days, but the days that you've been using the sleeve. And then additionally, you can see the average of gait speed and stride length. There are often questions about gait speed and stride length. In terms of gait speed, there are general averages for the general population, somewhere around 1 to 1.2, 1.4 meters per second for general walking. I wouldn't necessarily use those against your own walking. So I think what's is important is looking at your gait speed over time and seeing if that is increasing over time. So usually a faster gait speed shows improvement over a slower gait speed. So you can track your changes in gait speed over time, as well as stride length. And so stride length is variable depending on the length of your leg, your height, things like that. But generally speaking, similar to gait speed, improvements or increases in stride length typically show improvements to the gait pattern overall. So just another way for you to sort of monitor your progress. If you have questions about any of the metrics or changes in metrics over time, again, don't hesitate to talk to your mobility specialist or reach out to us at support.com, support@sionic.com with any questions on the metrics.
I just wanted to point out, because we received a lot of questions about that like all these metrics are calculated just when there's continuous gait. So if you wear the sleeve all day, but like you don't move for half of the day because like you're in front of the computer or like you're cooking or doing other chores, those minutes, they are not considered into the daily average. So we always calculate it just like the moment in which there's a continuous gait activity. So don't worry, you don't need like to stop the program if you don't want to, while you're sitting or do other things, because those metrics will not be impacted by those moments of non-activity.
And Domenico, there was a question in the chat just about when those metrics update. Will they be updating through the day as you're using the device, or will it be only at the end of the day when you get those metrics to be updated?
So because like we need to calculate and to subtract those moments of inactivities, those metrics are updated just at the end of the activity. And sometimes they take a bit because of this calculation. Another thing that usually happens is that if you wear the sleeve all day and you deplete totally the battery so that the DC shut down before you're able to stop the program, and then like we need those to recuperate those data in the following days, so you may not see those stats updating right away. So in case like you have like a lot of missing data, please like reach out to support, but like because there's all this calculation, those are not like a super real-time data that will show up like as soon as you finish.
So maybe check it the next day or at the end of the week. Okay, awesome, thanks.
Sure.
Can I just reiterate too that it's important to stop your protocol? So oftentimes people just either just unplug or get out without stopping the protocol necessarily. So
yes.
To collect your data, it's good to stop your protocol.
That's what I always do. I'm always in a hurry, and so I just unplug everything and go. So
yes, better not to do that.
And then there was a question about Cycle. Do you want to just talk about how someone should get access to Cycle if they're interested?
Yeah, I can address that. So if you are interested in Cycle, and again, Cycle is for an upright stationary bicycle. So if you have a recumbent or other type of elliptical or other type of machine, the timing will not be ideal for those. So it's really for the upright stationary bike. And if you are interested and you are currently in touch with your mobility specialist, you can reach out to them directly, or always reach out to support again, and we'll connect you to the mobility specialist who will enable that for you.
As we talked about that, I just wanted like to clarify those like the bicycle protocol is not done to be used on a regular bicycle, right? For safety, also the FDA, and we wouldn't do, also the FDA forbid the use of stimulation device while operating any kind of vehicle. So the sleeve should be posed when you use like a regular bicycle. Is like strongly suggested that you pose also while you're driving, and so on. There are like we have an algorithm in place for not stimulating the leg while you're not walking, but in general, this particular protocol, the cycle protocol, is for use over stationary bike and not over regular bicycle. Okay, some other feature that have been developed. So we worked a lot in trying to save as much battery as we can for your phone. As for this reason, like we worked on optimizing the communication between the neural sleeve and your phone. The less communication we have, the more your phone battery is preserved. And also like the app no longer keeps like the screen on during protocol, during like a gait assist, but it does if you instead are using exercise, because exercise, like we think that it's important for you to have also visual feedback of what is happening. So we hope that this one should like reduce the battery consumption. This feature for the moment has been deployed for Apple devices, and in the next release, it will also be optimized for Android devices.
Thanks. And there's one more quick question about cycle in general and how it shows up in the activity report. So maybe I can just go back one slide to show just where it would show up. Domenico, do you mind just speaking to where cycle would show up in this?
Yes, as you see, like where is like a daily activity, there's like a small legend at the bottom. So like the colors onto this bar, they either like indicate gait activity or exercise or timed activity. Bicycle is right now the only timed activity that we have, so it will show up with your with its own color onto the bars.
Great, thank you. And then another question on the topic of battery is
Yes.
Any tips for prolonging battery life in general?
And I think this is battery life specific to the device.
For the device. Yes, for our device. Yeah. No. Yes. So any tips for prolonging the battery life? So we're always working on optimizing from our side the battery life of the device, with the caveat that you should not wear and operate the sleeve for more than 8 hours. Your skin needs to breathe, needs to be like free of the electrodes so that it can recover after using the sleeve. So please don't wear the sleeve for more than 8 hours, and that's like for just like so that your skin can recover and breathe. Having said that, ways for optimizing the battery life of the sleeve. Well, the battery life of the sleeve is directly related from how much activity you do, because the most of the energy is used when you move and we stimulate, right? So there's electricity that moves from the battery to the electrode to your skin. So the more you move, the less the battery is gonna last. When you don't move, there's definitely like a saving energy. When you pose the control unit, either from the app or by pressing the phone, or by pressing the button that is on the control unit on your leg, there is like a certain amount of saving. It's not a lot of saving, but like, because we still need to keep like the control unit charged to be ready for when you move. So if you really need to save energy, the best suggestion is like to unplug the control unit and turn it off. We are working on what we call like a standby mode, and hopefully it will be available with one of the next releases, and that would allow you from the app instead to put the sleeve in this standby mode and recover directly from the app. But at the moment, of course, like a pause or less movement and turning off the unit itself are the only way to save energy for the battery.
Great. Another battery topic, Domenico,
Yes.
which is, will you ever be able to charge the controller with an auxiliary charger like you use to boost mobile phone charge?
Yes, so this is always hard to to answer because like the neural sleeve is a medical device, and we have to follow like the rules from the FDA, and all these rules are in place for your safety. So we are required to provide a specific type of charger for the neural sleeve, and this charger needs to pass like a specific test, which are not the same test of the chargers that you can find on Amazon or battery packs and so on. So that's why we always strongly recommend to use like the charger that is provided, because it's like for safety reasons, that charger has been tested to be used with medical devices. We are looking into providing additional type of chargers, but again, those chargers that then need to go under the evaluation of the FDA and strong test cases. So batteries or other kind of charger will hopefully come in the future, but right now I cannot give like a precise estimate of when.
And then there was one more piece of feedback about the calibration process in general, which is, would it be possible to do seated before standing, because it's difficult to stand up and sit back down, to then stand and start walking. And so that's just a piece of feedback. And if there's you can speak to why the process is in the order that it is.
Yeah, I can take that one, since it took me about 2 months to get the math to work for the standard then seated. It's I've been looking at it. I'll continue to look at it. It is an interesting math challenge with how sensors, specifically IMU sensors, used the Earth's gravity to orient themselves. So we've heard the feedback. We understand it would be easier for people to be seated first and to stand second, and we'll continue to look and work on the math. If any of you are physics or math people and want to get in touch with me, computer scientist by nature, a little bit of math, I could use a little more.
Anne, you want me to take this one? I think this is the intensity slider bar.
You want me to take it?
Yep.
No, I got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got it. For those of you who are current customers, you should be familiar with the intensity slider bar that you see towards the bottom of the skeleton screen. You can see it moving down in this video. That slider bar reduces the overall stimulation intensity across all of the muscles that have been enabled. And so sometimes individuals use that to turn down the intensity for all muscles. Sometimes that slider bar inadvertently gets slid down or all the way off. So when it's all the way to the left, it is at 0 and you won't feel any stimulation. And so sometimes we get reports from customers that they don't feel stimulation, or that stimulation isn't working. And what has happened is that slider bar has been moved all the way down to 0 or some lower percentage where it's not felt. So now there is a message that will appear when when that slider bar goes down below 40%, just as a reminder that slider bar has been reduced, and you may not feel stimulation at that level. So as you can see it pop up there, so FES stimulation with low intensity may not be felt. So just a reminder that at the lower levels, you may not feel stimulation. So another check for you. in terms of turning that slider bar down.
Great. And then before we go to the next one, there is a question specifically about seeing more than a 30-day history, just in the expression that they feel like their walking has improved quite a bit over time.
Domenico, more than 30 days? What do you think? Put it on the list. I think we lost Domenico.
I'm curious as to what time frame that individual would be interested in. Is it 3 months, 6 months?
I apologize because I was
respond.
I was writing. Yeah, I was replying some of the question in the chat. Can you repeat the question? Apologies.
Longer time frames than 30-day history.
Longer time frame than the 30-day histories is in the work, and you will be able to scroll once you're in 30 days. You'll be able to scroll through previous 30 days, so that will allow you to compare your improvement into those metrics over a longer time frame.
Great. And then Domenico, there's also a question about the hydrogel being extremely adhesive, and so sometimes it can be almost too sticky. Do you want to?
Yes.
There's just feedback about the.
Yeah, so we've notified the hydrogel manufacturer about this feedback. And they're looking how to improve the adhesiveness and reduce the strength that it takes. That strength is very impacted also from the temperature in which the electrogel is stored. So sometimes when the temperature is very low, it takes much more effort in separating those two layers, while when it's normal temperature, it should be much easier to separate. But we pass the feedback to the manufacturer, and is looking into trying to reduce that adhesion. Unfortunately, we had to raise the adhesion because before we were seeing the electrodes easily being delaminated. So that means when you see that one layer of the gel detaches from the carbon layer. So in order to improve the life of the electrode, we had to use a stronger adhesive. So they were trying to fine tune that strength, and we're working with the manufacturer for that.
Yeah, and one thing that's really great now that we have so many users is that one, our partner is really excited to help us find new answers, and two, we may actually be able to offer different types of electrogel for different types of people, and we're all different. So we're doing the work to investigate and working with our partner to see what other options we can make available.
And then one more just quick topic on as we talk about electrode gel pads, just with the stickiness of the gel. And so I know we have some tips for kind of how to remove that and minimize the residual gel. Domenico, do you want to speak to that, or Becky?
Are we talking about the residual gel that remains on the skin?
Yes.
Okay, so Becky, you can.
Sure, I can speak to that. So that definitely happens to me, and maybe because my skin is dry, I get the little gel that stays on my skin. So whenever I take the sleeve off, I generally have a damp cloth nearby, and I just use a damp cloth to wipe my skin down to remove the gel. It's water soluble, so it should just wipe off from your skin. But if I understand, if you don't wipe those off, those little gel pieces can end up in strange places and on clothes and things like that. So best practice in my case is just to have a wet cloth, a damp cloth nearby.
And then there's a follow-up question about the status of the electrode replacement notification beta program.
Yes.
And
So
so
first of
that,
all,
yeah, go ahead.
thank you everyone for your feedback, for the people that are enrolled in the beta program for the electrode notification. We are collecting all your feedback and try to fine tune the algorithm so that the notification are accurate. I think like we still didn't reach like a point in which we feel confident and comfortable in making that feature available to everyone. We still need more data. We still need like to improve the algorithm, but we will keep you posted on when that will happen.
Okay, Becky, over to you.
Becky, I think you're muted.
Thanks, Domenico.
No problem.
So one of the new features on the mobility specialist side that will help you guys as the customers when you're in follow-ups or onboardings with a mobility specialist. So what you're seeing right now is the screen that the mobility specialist sees when you join a tech session help through the app. So we see your screen, your app screen, and then we can also see, as we play the video, you'll see Anne walking here. And on the bottom, we have controls. And as you guys know, we can, once you're in those programming screens, we can control the parameters here. So the frequency, the pulse width, and the intensity. But we have not been able to get to these screens when you're in the skeleton mode or the walking mode. And so now we have the capability of, while you're walking and testing out the stimulation, we can go into the programming screens without you having to stop, come back, sit down, and pick up your phone to get into those programming screens. So while you're walking and testing out the stimulation, if you say, for instance, oh, I would like the right shin stimulation turned up, we can do that not as you're walking, but in that walking mode. So we would recommend that you pause, you find a sturdy place, hold on to a table or back of a chair, and then we can turn up that stimulation, test it for you in the standing, or you could sit down as well, but you wouldn't need to pick up your phone. And then we could continue on without having to necessarily stop and restart. So as the video plays here, this is showing Anne. She is walking. She's asked to have the stimulation turned up. So I'm able to just go in there, test it out for her. She wanted a little bit more stimulation, so she's holding onto the chair there. We're testing out the stimulation, and then she can continue walking again without having to come sit back down and then have you as the customer click into the individual programming screens. So we can do that ourselves. So that should help make the follow-up appointments more efficient. And upcoming AMAs. So just to give you guys some information on things we have planned, most likely in January, we're going to have a 2-part exercise series hosted by 2 of our mobility specialists, a review of the electrode maintenance and skin maintenance, skin care, and then a further in-depth on the metrics that in the history screen, as well as an understanding of the gait cycle and when the muscles turn on and turn off and what their impact is during the gait cycle.
Great, thanks, Becky. And then as always, if there are additional topics that you would like our team to cover, we are here. We want to create sessions that are as valuable for the community as possible. So please just send us your feedback on topics you'd like us to cover. I think one of the most popular ones was the electrode maintenance and skincare. And so we'll repeat that one again. But please let us know if there are topics you'd like us to cover that we haven't yet. And there's one question. So now it's kind of general Q&A. So please continue to provide questions in the chat. There's one question about, I hear there's a product being developed to stimulate hip flexors and glutes to help lift your leg. What is the time frame for that?
I'm not sure where you heard that. We're not, it's a really difficult challenge. You know, for the hip flexors, they're very deep and they're difficult to stimulate with surface stimulation. And so that one, we have no definitive timeline on that. And on glute stimulation, it comes down to the form factor and some of those challenges that people have been talking about with the electrodes and getting those to place underneath. I saw someone recommend in the chat Psyonic underwear, so that's a good possibility. Maybe that's something we'll have to look at late. So I don't want to make any promises about those two specific muscle groups. It's quite a lot of research from where we're at today to get to those, to anything to support those. But what we do see in certain cases, as we have improved mobility with some of the other muscle groups, that gives a little bit more room for the glutes to activate and a little bit less spasticity to interfere with hip flexors. So, you know, in certain cases, we see some improvements that are sort of ancillary to the work that we're doing on the 4 major muscle groups.
Great. You know, I think that I don't see any other kind of outstanding questions in the chat. Are there any other questions that people have for our team? Any topics you'd like us to cover?
Any new exercises people want to see? Since Becky teased out, and it's one of the things that we've been really excited about on developing new exercises that help people to access certain tasks and mobility that maybe they have been challenged with. It's what led to the development of the swing protocol that combines dorsiflexion with knee extension and the rockers activity. And we're looking at adding a few new exercises over the course of a couple months. So if anyone has any ideas, please send them my way. Becky, you have some ideas. What are some of the new exercises you want to see?
Yeah, I have some ideas. Lots of sort of more functional exercises. So something like a sit to stand, similar to a mini squat, but makes that exercise more functional. So, or a step up. So kind of stepping up onto a step or a curb or something like that. So that the exercises that may be more static in a seated position, we can transition to them being more functional, that you would encounter those movements in your daily life.
Yeah, one of our users in the chat suggested sit to stand. That's a great idea.
Oh yeah,
great.
Great. There was one general question about just how do you follow up with your mobility specialist, and I answered it there, but I'll answer it for everyone, which is you can either reply to your original mobility specialist or always just contact support@psyonic.com and we'll take care of you. There's another question, any consideration of adapting the brain spinal cord bridge as recently published in Nature to enable a brain muscle bridge to drive motor output of the Psyonic neural sleeve? Ideally, the sensory input would be non-invasive.
I'll go talk to Elon when he's not acting too crazy, and maybe I can figure out a partnership there. You know, in some ways, the work that we're doing right now is to try to reinforce some of those pathways, right? And we're at the end of the chain, right? So our sensors and what we're able to detect from our surface EMG sensors is the output of the motor signaling chain. In some cases, we have seen that some of the exercises, like the muscle activated stimulation, do provide some of that feedback that, and sometimes that where people said, I can't, you know, or we've observed that they can't actually see physical movement, they can actually see the biofeedback on that screen and be able to sort of amplify that natural signaling process. So I got to read this article and see if there's anything that may be helpful in us understanding the pathway to get more of the signaling from up the chain, and like this user said, something that is non-invasive, which, you know, that's sort of our specialty, and see if there's maybe some ways to reinforce that connection and that signaling, taking into account more of the pathway.
It looks like Domenico's getting ready to answer the next question, which is a brand of the cleaning spray that you can use for the sleeve.
Thank you, Anne. Yes, so like we've used them all, like we have them all here. We don't really see any difference between the different brands. Like we've tested like the Tide antibacterial spray. We tested like the Woolite antibacterial spray. I don't have them here, but like I've been testing like the Febreze. So all the most common brands, they have one antibacterial spray. The only thing to verify is that it kills as many bacteria as possible. Usually like they advertise for 99.9% of bacteria killed. But there's no specific brand that we recommend. They all have the same performance, so you're free to use the one that you prefer. Also, some are scented, some other are not scented, so that really depends from your preference. So in terms of performance, they're all at the same level.
And we're hoping to get a sponsor for our next AMA, so then we'll just really tout the one brand.
Yep, next time, yeah, product placement.
A couple of really fun things in the chat. Some questions around biofeedback, and I think that's a good idea. We'll put together a video and send that out. What biofeedback is rather than providing stimulation, it is just sensing the muscle firing patterns through the same electrodes that we use to stimulate. And there's a little bar that jumps up and down on the screen to see to show you how much activation you have. So we'll put together a video on that. There was also someone who asked about progress reports, and I know that the team is working on how to take those in-app graphics that show progress around activities and gait, and be able to share those with your clinical team at your discretion.
Great. There's another one in here about which iPhone is correct. So this person said that they have an iPhone 8, and we do on our website have recommended kind of minimum devices, and we recommend an iPhone 11 or newer. I don't know, Domenico, do you want to speak to compatibility any more than that?
Yes, unfortunately, like the feature that we developed are based on the capabilities of the operating system that is installed on your phone. And when a new operating system comes out, the manufacturer just like doesn't allow to be deployed on all the devices they have. So like, for example, the latest version of iOS can be deployed just on the most recent devices and leaving some other behind. As we try to improve the product and make a smarter feature available to you, we rely heavily on some of the new features that are developed in this operating system. So that's why on the website you can find the recommended devices, because like sometimes like the manufacturer doesn't support those devices anymore, and so for us it's hard to keep on developing, maintaining those old devices in consideration.
Thanks, Domenico. There's another product feature request, which is how about like a Fitbit giving you a signal to move, to remind you when it's time to get up and walk?
I like it.
I knew that you like it. Yes. So we are actively working on notification and on better ways to keep all of you engaged into the use of the product so that you can improve much faster. So you will see in the next release, the next releases, as it's not such a fast thing to integrate all those notification and reminders and features to be more involved will come up with the future releases.
And then there's one more question around, I think, skin sensitivity, and then having difficulty removing it now after the fact. I think that one probably makes sense for you to reach out to your mobility specialist to just kind of make sure we understand your question. If there's anything else that Domenico or Becky would want to add to that one. So the question, how wet can I get the sleeve to remove the product? And so we wouldn't want to get it wet, but if you want to speak to anything else.
Yeah, I think, Anne, I think the question is that there was some skin sensitivity and a product was used to wash the sleeve or to spray the sleeve. And now the question is how to remove that product effectively from the sleeve.
Yeah, I think let's follow up with that one. We would love to understand what product was used and get a live picture of what's going on there.
Yeah.
Great. And then there's a
Becky,
question.
knee hyperextension is like our bailiwick. Is how do we help, especially in late stance hyperextension? And Becky has some ideas. She's waiting on me to work on some of the protocols to try it out, but haven't found any secrets yet. But it's a good one to work on.
And in terms of exercises, it depends on why you have knee hyperextension. There could be several reasons, but if it is something related to quadriceps timing or quadriceps weakness, the knee extension exercise would be a good bet. It certainly won't hurt. It could only help. So in terms of what we have currently, that would be my recommendation.
Great. Another collaboration recommendation is tying into Apple Watch activity. And then there's a question about any plans to address upper extremity limitations from spinal cord lesions.
Hopefully someday in the not too distant future. There's some obvious extensions to the work that we have done on lower motor mobility that extend into upper limb mobility. The big challenges for us, just so everyone knows what it will take for us to get there, is one, sizing down the product and specifically around the electrodes. If people have been on some of these other AMAs with us, one of the common questions is, when are the smaller sizes coming? Well, that's one of the first steps that we have to do to take there. And then in the context around all of the complex movements that are done with the upper arm mobility and some of the work that we've done already on the algorithms that are understanding seated versus standing versus walking versus stairs. We hope to extend that knowledge and that context-based machine learning to more complex activities. So thanks for the vote of confidence and the push to get to more parts of the body.
Awesome. There's one person who said that the neural sleeve has actually improved their knee hyperextension already, so that's great to hear. There's a question about, is there a reason for recommendation of placing the sleeve in the bag daily? Domenico, I'll send that one to you.
Yes, there is a reason, and if you place the sleeve into a closed bag, at the end of the day, the electrodes will be exposed to less oxygen, and they will dry out in a longer time frame. So placing the sleeve keeps the sleeve in a slightly moist environment, and that keeps the electrodes healthy, and they don't deplete so fast.
Great. And then I think we don't have any more outstanding questions. I do want to share one person's comment that's amazing, and just thank you for sharing this story, but that someone unexpectedly had to stop at a store today and they weren't wearing the neural sleeve, and usually that would have been really difficult to get through the parking lot and through the store, but not today. And so the effect stayed with her even after 10 days sick in bed. She says, thank you. And my question is, where have you been the last 25 years of my life? So Jeremiah, maybe that's a question for you. Okay, thank you for sharing this.
Wasting my time. I've been wasting my time. This is my life's work, and I'm so excited to be here with you and be part of this community. And it's really through your feedback and collaboration that we have an opportunity to continue to do this work and hopefully make a big impact on more lives as we move into the future. There's somebody on this call who knew me 25 years ago.
Wonderful. And then there's one actually additional question. Is it possible to program the device to normalize gait based on spatial sensing?
I don't know. I mean, in some ways, when we are looking at the orientation of the limb, that's spatial sensing, but maybe I get the feeling that it's like environmental sensing, knowing, that there's a stair over there and a chair over there. Is there anything we can do? Well, one of our investors is entirely into visual tech, and he keeps saying, when are you going to put cameras on the thing or LiDAR on this thing so you can actually move people around obstacles? It's ambitious, but yeah, I think it's just really exciting to think about what the future can be as we're able to access more technology and integrate it onto the body. And obviously some of the things there are practical considerations, and a lot of people talk about this: more battery life, better breathability, more durability in the electrodes. And so it's one of the really fun and fascinating challenges of now being a commercial stage company, is that we want to continue to innovate, continue to bring new features and functionality. And it's nice that we can do a lot of that through software because of the long cycles it takes to bring new hardware to the market. But we have to balance all of these practical considerations that folks have with that desire to continue to innovate. And we're doing our best to try to do both.
And I can tackle that question about the upper extremity donning and doffing the sleeve with one hand, or the control
Great.
unit. So there is a question that my MS affects my left side. It's difficult for me to place the sleeve on my left side. Any idea to help me connect my battery to the sleeve? So for any of you who have fine motor, upper extremity impairments, my recommendation is to actually put the control unit in the pocket and attach it before you put the sleeve on. So if your sleeve is laying on the bed or table or whatnot, that you connect it first to make sure it's securely in the pocket and connected. And you do need to be careful when you're putting on the sleeve that it's not moving around too much, but I would recommend connecting it before putting the sleeve on your leg. And similarly, taking it off, that you can take the sleeve off and then disconnect it once the sleeve is removed from your leg.
Great, thanks, Becky. And then a few more people just sharing their perspectives. I walked 3/5 of a mile without stopping last week for the first time in a couple of years. So again, amazing. Please continue to share your stories. I think they're so meaningful for our whole team. And you get to meet some members of our team, but there are a lot of people working behind the scenes kind of day and night to bring the NeuralSleeve to market. And so hearing all of your milestones is really so meaningful for our team. So please keep sending them. We really love hearing from all of you. And again, that goes to all the feedback on sessions and content and exercises. And so we really appreciate getting to know this community and how involved you've been with us in making this kind of product experience as positive as it can be. Someone says they've been waiting for 15 years for this, so thank you.
Oh, so I've only been wasting 15 years. First 10 was
Jeremiah, someone wants to ask about Sophia.
Oh, she is doing awesome. I was a little late to this call today because she had an amazing clarinet performance as part of the fall break festivities at her school. So we rushed it down to make this call, and I will pass along all of your good wishes to her. It's fun to see her continuing to participate in all of the activities around her school. And that was one of the things that's so important for us, and just to make sure she can participate in as many activities as possible.
Awesome. There's one more question about plans to incorporate recommendations for accessible clothing like pants that will make it easier to put on and take off the sleeve.
That's a great idea. I mean, I think you as users probably have many of you have found clothing wardrobe that works well with the sleeve, and probably have a few things that don't work well with the sleeve. And maybe what we'll do is send out a little email or survey to folks, and maybe you guys can provide feedback as to what has been working for us, and then we can publish it in a place that other people can access it. I mean, it's one of the things that has been amazing. And for any of you guys who are on Facebook, there's a user-run Facebook group that we occasionally come in and try to help out, but it's all run by the users, which is fantastic. And they have a lot of suggestions and tips for how they maximize their use of the sleeve. But we'll try to get all that stuff collated around wardrobe and around cleaning tips that people use, and try to put it somewhere on our website and maybe accessible through the app, if that makes sense, so that you get the wisdom of the crowd of the people who are using this on a daily basis.
Awesome. And there have been a few questions about just the Velcro wear in general, and I think contact support at cyonic.com. I don't know, Domenico, or like if you want to say anything else.
Yes, no, if you just please like contact support so we can evaluate like if there's something wrong with the Velcro.
Okay. I think that that wraps it up. I don't know, Jeremiah, if you want to say any final words before we say goodbye.
Just thank you everyone for joining and all of your effort as the early adopters of this technology. You are helping to improve it for all the individuals who come after you, and keep spreading the word of your experiences and providing feedback for us as we can continue to try everything we can to improve the product and your experience while using it. And lastly, one last happy birthday to Anne. Go out and celebrate and enjoy this weekend. Thank you for putting this together for us.
Thanks. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys.